What if the next Spider-Man movie isn't actually saving the world? What if it's about saving Peter Parker himself? See, we've spent years watching Peter juggle multiversal threats and intergalactic wars, but everything we're hearing about Spider-Man Brand New Day points to something radically different. It's a complete pivot from the spectacle we've grown used to. So there's going to be no Avengers appearing, no multiverse glitches or variants, and zero Tony Stark. And just Peter completely alone, trying to figure out how to be a human again in a world that doesn't know he actually exists. And the director Destin Cretton described the film as a story about relearning how to connect with people. And if you read between the lines, that one sentence might be the most revealing piece of lore we've gotten yet. Because it's not about the villain, it's about the void left behind after No Way Home. So today we are going to talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day and the new details that dropped today, and we're going to talk about what the meaning is behind these details. So this is your boy Stevie Hayes. This is the Loreverse, and let's dive into this. So first off, let's look at the timeline because the opening detail is incredibly specific. The film begins 9 months after the ending of No Way Home. The reason why this matters is because think back to that final shot of Peter in his snowy apartment. He's lost everything. MJ and Ned look right through him. Happy Hogan doesn't recognize him. May is gone. Peter won the battle, but he lost his entire identity. So he's legit a ghost in his own city. Now, let's talk about what the 9 months represent because this isn't just a random number chosen from a time jump. In literature and life, 9 months is symbolic of rebirth. In a full gestation period, this gap tells us that we aren't watching the immediate sad Peter. We are watching a Peter who has already attempted to build a new life. He isn't just moving on, he's fundamentally transforming into something different. So, what we'll likely see when this movie opens, Peter won't be in total chaos. He'll have a routine, a cramped, leaky apartment in Queens or the East Village, a soul crushing job, maybe finally at the Daily Bugle or a local tech repair shop, a rhythm that works on paper but feels completely empty. The lore here is about the psychology of isolation. Peter has spent 9 months proving he can survive on his own, but survival isn't the same thing as living. And the second time jump that rumors suggest happens midway through the film. And this creates a two-phase narrative. Phase one is isolation, right? Peter convincing himself he's better off alone to keep others safe. And then there's phase two, which is reconnection, the moment the isolation becomes unbearable and he has to risk his heart again. So this isn't looked at as like a sequel now. It's now rebuilding the process of a human soul, which is Peter Parker's. Now, we have to talk about the suit because in the MCU, it has always been a piece of military grade hardware and not anymore. This suit is now inspired by legacy as a direct psychological response to Peter meeting the variants played by Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. But it's not about copying their powers, it's about inheriting their struggle. So there's real fabric, there's seams and wrinkles now. And the reports do emphasize that the suit looks real. And we've seen it. You can see the stitching. You can see the fabric bunching at the joints. This is a complete rejection of the MCU's high gloss pass, which you guys know I love all the MCU Spider-Man suits, so I'm not hating. But there's no nanotech, no liquid metal, no instant suit up buttons either. And the deeper meaning behind this new suit is that those two older Spider-Man taught Peter that being a hero isn't about the gear, it's about the man in the mask. And they both had suits that looked lived in, repaired, and weathered. And by hand making his own suit, Peter is now reclaiming his agency. He's saying, I don't need a billionaire's blessing to be a hero via the suit. And so what this means for the story now is the suit is now a metaphor for Peter's life. It's imperfect, it's frayed at the edges, and it requires constant maintenance. And for the first time in the MCU, the suit won't protect him from everything. He's finally becoming the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man we know from the comics. Vulnerable, scrappy, and incredibly human. And this is the Brand New Day, statement. The Stark era is dead. Ever since Homecoming, Peter has been Iron Man Jr. in the eyes of many critics. He had AI systems, advanced HUDs, and web shooters that could do 1,000 different things. He had a safety net, and if he fell, Tony's tech caught him. Now that is gone because in Brand New Day, everything Peter uses is something he built with his own two hands on a limited budget. He's a dumpster diving for parts. He's soldering other boards on his kitchen table. So the reason why this matters is because for the first time in the franchise, Peter can fail. If his web shooter's jam is not a software glitch, it's because he didn't have the money for better springs. If he gets hurt, there's no med bay in a jet to heal him. This brings the stakes back down to earth, and it makes every fight feel dangerous again. And this thematic shift is very accurate. This is the most accurate, Peter Parker look we've ever seen. It's about the struggle of being a genius who is also broke, and it forces him to use his brain instead of his gadgets, which is where Spider-Man truly shines. Now, let's talk about the AI stuff because this is where the lore gets dark. Look, now reports say that Peter's new AI assistant named Evie is his closest thing to a friend. And that phrase should break your heart because Peter isn't hanging out with MJ or Ned. He's talking to a voice in his ear that he programmed himself. Now, what this tells us is that Peter is suffering from a specific kind of trauma. He's terrified of being forgotten again, and he's terrified of hurting people being near him. And AI is the perfect solution because look, it can't forget him because it's in code. It also can't die in a super villain attack, and it also can't leave him. So the psychological angle behind this is, EV is a coping mechanism. It's digital solitude for Peter Parker. So Peter is using technology to simulate the human connection he's too scared to pursue in the real world. It's a tragic echo of really Tony Stark's Jarvis, but while Tony used AI for efficiency, Peter is using EV for sanity, it seems like. And the likely arc for this is the conflict of the movie won't just be a physical villain, it'll be the realization that EV isn't enough and that AI, doesn't really challenge you. It doesn't offer a different perspective, but for Peter, it's just a mirror. And at some point, Peter has to shut EV off and go talk to a real person, or he'll lose his humanity entirely, or use EV the right way. And look, we all know that the title is a massive Easter egg for comic book fans because look, in the comics, Brand New Day followed the One More Day storyline, a soft reboot where Peter's secret identity was restored at a heavy cost. And this represents a reset, a return to basics. It's a Peter Parker who, with no safety net, no marriage, and no easy way out. But in the MCU, it's not just a comic reference, it's a thematic promise. And the core theme, right, is a film study on grief and rebirth. Grief is for the life he lost, and rebirth into the hero he was always meant to be. The Brand New Day isn't a gift, it's a challenge. Can you still be a hero when there's no one left to cheer you on? Can you still love a world that has completely forgotten about you? And how do you rebirth? In one way, he's physically rebirthing as a spider, it looks like, but also through the pain, he is rebirthing into a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So if the leaks in the lore hold up, Spider-Man Brand New Day won't just be the biggest movie in the MCU. It won't have the highest body count for the most CGI explosions, but it might be the most important because for the first time, Peter Parker isn't fighting for the fate of the universe. He's just fighting for his own soul. He's trying to figure out if he can exist as a person and not just a mask. And the real question isn't whether he can beat the villain. The real question is, after losing everything, can he find a reason to keep his mask on? Or will he realize that to truly save himself, he has to finally let someone in? This is the end of his Young Bull trilogy, and we are seeing him birth into a man. Hope you guys enjoyed this video breaking down these details. Please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and peace out.